My name is Amy Griffin from overallquilter.com, and today's video number 13, is how to square up your blocks. A special thank you to Marsha for her donation this week. Let's go on over and square them up. So we're going to square down the blocks. The first thing you need to determine is what your smallest block is. Once you have made all your blocks, lay one on top of each other until you find the smallest block. And then based on that small block, we're going to trim them down so that they're all exactly that same size. We're going to get rid of those little extra pieces that you have there. I always like to use a ruler that is larger than the block itself. This should have turned out to be a 12.5-inch block. I'm going to trim them down to 12 inches. And so I am using a 12.5-inch square. What I want to do is determine where the center of my block is. Depending on the piecing, you may have a center or you may have 3 sections. And the 3 sections may not always be the same size. So again, you need to determine a consistent lineup so that you're going to do the same with the rest of your blocks. So what I'm going to do is take all of my blocks and lay them so that they're all facing the same way. I've got my 2 blocks down here, my 2 blocks up here. Then I'm going to take my 12.5-inch ruler and lay it right on top. Since I am squaring this down to 12 inches, I need to figure out what I'm going to line up with one of my measurements. In this case, I'm going to line up my 8-inch line with the seam between the orange and the purple and the orange and the black. As long as you stay consistent, you'll be able to trim the blocks down. So I've taken my 8 and it's running down the seam of between the orange and the purple, and there's my 8-inch and it's running again, and I've created a nice 90-degree angle right here. Now I'm only going to be able to trim 2 sides, my right and my top, and then I will turn my block to the other side and square up the other 2 sides. So once I'm happy with the lineup, I'm going to cut there and cut there. Now remember, we've done it to the right and to the top, but we still have to do it to the left and to the bottom. So I'm going to pick up my ruler and I'm just going to turn my block halfway. So I have a perfect cut on my left side and my bottom side. Now I'm going to lay my ruler back on the block and I'm going to line up this time my 12 with my side and my 12 with my bottom. And you have a perfect 12-inch square. Now again, I'm going to lay that to the side, and I'm going to take my next block and do exactly the same thing. Make sure that you're always reading your ruler the same way. If I were to turn my ruler this way, I'd be on my 1/2 inches. So I want to always make sure that I start with my full inches on my ruler. I'm going to line my 8-inch with my seam on my left here and the 8-inch with my left seam. I'm always lining up the same. Stay consistent. Stay with that same lineup. Even if you're off a little bit, you'll still catch, even if it's just a little piece. It'll stay consistent with the rest of your blocks. Again, we're going to turn this half, and now I'm going to line it up with my 12-inch. and cut there. And again, I have a nice 12-inch. And if I lay that on top of each other, those are perfect. It's really important that you find a ruler that you can read. I tend to like the creative grids. For me, they're easy to read, and they also have the sandpaper dots on the back, or the grips. If your ruler does not have grips, make sure you add either fabric grips or Invisigrip on there, so that when you are squaring your piece down, your ruler does not slide. Keep it nice and keep it in place. And that's it. You should be able to square down any block. The only thing that you have to be careful with is working with a 9 patch, because you don't, if you cut down the outside of a 9 patch, your center will not be the same. So there are certain blocks that you have to be careful with. But for the most part, when you have blocks that have larger pieces that are not exactly even, you can square those blocks down. And that's it. Have fun squaring down your blocks.